Hey guys, all right. So I am planning on setting up my own quarantine tank. If you're following me at all, which I hope you are, subscribe. Right here, I have a little clown that's got a little bit of ick, so I'm in the ick club. And I think he's doing all right, and I could probably just let him ride it out. I do have a little Watchman Goby in there as well, who looks totally fine. But I'm really not going to tear my tank apart to pull him out. So really, I think I'm going to be kind of just dealing with ick in this tank, probably forever, off and on. I don't know. But the bottom line is I want to set up a quarantine tank because I'm also going to be setting up a completely separate sister tank to this. I have this exact same setup minus the light coming, and I'm going to set up a macro algae tank. However, in that macro algae tank, I'm going to start from scratch. I'm not going to bring anything from this tank over to there. I'm going to recycle that tank. I'm going to try my best. I got a UV light. I'm going to do a quarantine system. So even though it's a macro algae tank, I probably am going to throw maybe a bubble tip anemone in there. I'd like to get maybe some clownfish and see if I can get them to host in there. I really don't want to put a bubble tip anemone in my small little tank. So I'm kind of transitioning to where this tank is going to be just mainly corals and maybe just that pistol shrimp and goby. And I'm just going to keep this a super simple coral tank with some invertebrates, but very just minimal. I might not add any more fish. Just keep that, like I said, that little Watchman Goby in there. But I might end up adding a few more fish and some other little things into my macro algae tank. So that's the long version to say I'm setting up a quarantine tank. I will show it to you. It's a 10-gallon tank. I kind of have it on the floor. I already put some water in it. So what I did is I picked up this $16 Aquan 10 LED Pro Quiet Flow hang on the back filter. And I'm just going to unbox it real quick. This is what I'm going to use on the quarantine tank. So if you're looking for something simple, I actually just picked this up at a 20% off over at Petco. I just picked it up. So, okay, it comes all shrink wrapped. You can see how small it is. Let's just break right into this guy. So I'm really not using this too much for the filtration, really. I think you guys understand that. It's mostly just for oxygenation, get the water flowing, turn things over. So, this is pretty much just your standard run-of-the-mill, hang-on-the-back filter. I'll have to see. It's got this like LED light that I think tells you when to change the filters. I'm really not too worried about that. Obviously, this is going to go down in my water. The little tiny pump is right here. And then, of course, it's got, basically they're all different, but it's the same concept of your pass-through filters with your carbon and stuff that you can put down there. I do kind of like this little return filter, which might be all that I use really at the beginning. So the water will trickle down through that filter and pick up particles. So I am using this Fritz. I'm going to use this Fritz Copper Safe, and it does say that you can continue to use carbon and such in your filtration. But that's one of the reasons why I'm using a 10-gallon tank. And for now, I'm only going to put one little clownfish in there. So I'm really not super worried about ammonia or the water getting nasty. I'm just not going to overfeed. And if I need to, I'll do a water change at some point. But I'm not too concerned about that. So I am going to go over and see how this thing fits on the back of the tank. Once again, if you're looking for a small little hang on the back filter for possibly a quarantine system of your own, this is the one I got. I will continue to update you to see how it works. But let me pause this video and go put it over here on the tank and just see what it looks like. Alrighty, so here is my 10-gallon quarantine tank that does not have 10 gallons of water on it, but I do have it set up with a little, I did a video on this way back if you want to look for it. This is just one of those manual kind of ATOs, just gravity fed. It actually works really well. I don't have any water in it just yet. I don't have it set up for this tank. I did originally use it before I got my F-Zone dual sensor ATO on my Reef tank. But anyway, so hey, here you go, here dummy. So I was talking about that little LED that tells you when to change the filter, but really that is kind of what it does, but it's really cool. what it does is it's based on the water line in here. So that's actually kind of cool based on the fact that this is a hang on the back filter. So if the water level in there ever got too high, it's assuming it's because the filters are clogged. This light will go on and let you know before it overflows. So that's actually a pretty cool feature. So this is where the water will come out and pass through that kind of large filter. So I don't have enough water in it yet to turn it on, show you how quiet it is, but I will, so hang tight. But so far, for 16 bucks, I'm digging it. Little side note here that I forgot to mention in case you were wondering is normally when you get these, they are designed, they do have several different sizes in here, but they're all for rimless tanks. But if you have a little 10-gallon tank that you paid $9.99 for, you really don't care about cutting out this little section. So all I did was take a razor blade and I just cut out that little section, and then this thing just fit right in there and scooted down and worked just perfect. So don't think that you can't use these on a rim tank as long as you don't mind just cutting out a little inch right there. So that was just a side note. So I'm in the middle of filling up some buckets with my ATO water. And when I get this thing filled up, I'll fire this thing up, come back, show you how it works. Alrighty, so I finally have my RODI water in here filled up. I got my little heater, and I'm about to turn on this little filter and see if it works. So I'm just going to plug it in and see what happens. I'm assuming it's just going to like self-prime, and let's see what happens. Okay, definitely a little on the noisy side. For what it is, that's incredibly noisy. So I'm not a super fan of that. I don't plan on running this thing all the time, but interesting. I almost just feel like it just needs to be like hit and restarted. Like that's a hideous sound. Yikes. Okay, well, for something that's called quiet flow, I think I might be taking that back and trying another one. I don't know, maybe it just needs to break. I'm going to give it some time, see if I can mess with it a little bit. But all in all, there is the setup. I got to come up with something to cover it. This is still just fresh water, so I got to get my salt in here, let it get up to temperature, let the salt mix for overnight, and I'll get everything perfect before I transfer in that little guy up there. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. This is so interesting, these things. Got to give them some time. It's already half of the decibels. So I'm just going to give this thing some time. But right now, so far, so good, at least on the setup. Super simple quarantine tank right here, ready to rock. Tell me, guys, what do you think? What are you guys doing for your quarantine tanks? Do me a favor, like, drop a comment, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, not sure why, but this thing is now significantly quieter. I guess there was just a little bit of a break-in period. So I am happy with it. Got the salt in and just doing my thing. Okay, so I think this is going to be the last update. It's been about an hour or two since the last update, and I don't know how to explain it, but this filter is even quieter. So I know I mentioned a little bit ago, a couple clips ago, that, oh man, I might have to return this thing. Started out super loud. It is now quiet. Water has cleared up. I'm going to let this circulate and heat like I mentioned. I'll end up trying to figure out a way to cover this. And then tomorrow I will move this little guy in there and start the quarantine process for him. So anyways, guys, thanks again. I think I've said this 3 times. Like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate it. It helps. Take care. Okay, so I didn't video the transfer, but here I am the next day, and the temperature is set. The filter is running. I have my Fritz copper safe added. I kind of covered this a little bit just so that the clownfish would feel a little safer because I don't really have anything in the tank. I have him floating, and I've been adding water slowly as he acclimates, and I will let him go here in just a sec. Alrighty, well, it has been about 15 or 20 minutes. I've been slowly kind of adding the tank water here to this little Tupperware, and as you can see, he wants to get out. So we're going to go ahead and do this. Just take it nice and easy. And oops, there it is. So like I said, I think it seems a little scary in there with nothing to hide behind. So I put this up so that he'll at least kind of be dark in there and whatnot. So there you have it. Quarantine tank is set up. Let me know what you think.